Everyone's been in this situation. You're discussing a vacation with a friend, and the very next day you see a ton of ads for flights, suitcases, and so on. One talk about a bike, and suddenly your feed is full of offers to buy one. In moments like these, there can only be one explanation: the phone is listening to us. And the more often these coincidences happen, the harder it is to accept that it's just a fluke. But after working in the advertising industry for several years, I realized one thing. If modern advertising were really built only on listening to your phone, it would be much, much stupider. In reality, it doesn't care at all what you're talking about. It's trying to answer a completely different question. Not what this person is talking about right now, but what this person is most likely to do next. Today, we'll figure out what information advertising networks collect, what they use this info for, why some people are shown one type of information while others see another, and how a few completely ordinary digital footprints form a full portrait of a person right on the internet. If you're interested in real mechanisms that make the modern world work rather than conspiracy theories, subscribe to this YouTube channel. On this channel, we discuss business, technology, and the modern world so that everyone can understand it. When most people think about advertising, they imagine something pretty simple. An advertiser picks gender, age, location, and then ads start showing up for people based on those criteria. 10 years ago, that was actually pretty much how it worked. Not anymore today. An ad network almost never asks the question, who is this person? It's much more interested in something else. How likely is it that this specific person will be interested in the ad? These are fundamentally different approaches. Imagine you open a news site at the same time as 1,000 other people. The article is the same for everyone, but for some reason the ads are different. Someone will see a new smartphone, someone else a banking app, another person food delivery, and someone else might see ads for travel tours. And this doesn't happen because the site decided to show these ads in advance. In a fraction of a second, the ad network evaluates a specific user and decides which ad is most likely to interest them. But how can it even know that? The first thing to understand is there's no company that knows literally everything about you. No, that's a myth. In practice, different services know different things about you. An online store knows what you've bought from them. Social networks know what you watch and like. A search engine knows what queries you've entered and what you're interested in. Each platform only sees part of the picture, but that's often enough to determine interests. Every day we leave hundreds or even thousands of digital footprints. Which articles we read, which videos we watch, which products we buy, which ads we click on. Individually, each such signal means almost nothing. Just because someone watched a laptop review once doesn't mean they're going to buy it. Just because someone opened an airline's website doesn't mean they're planning to fly somewhere. But the main logic is that ad networks never look at just one signal. They see hundreds of small actions at once and build patterns. Imagine a huge mosaic. If you have one piece in your hands, you won't understand what the picture is. 10 pieces also give you almost nothing, but hundreds or even thousands do. And it's exactly the same way with advertising. The algorithm doesn't try to understand a specific action. It tries to see the big picture. This is where what's commonly called a person's digital footprint comes in. It's not a folder with your name, not a dossier, not your whole life story. It's a modest mathematical model that constantly changes as new data comes in. It helps the algorithm answer just one question: what is most likely to interest this person right now? That's why the ad network doesn't care about who you are. It's interested in understanding who you're like. Because if 1 million people bought similar products before, the algorithm assumes this offer will interest you too. That's why modern advertising is no longer mass market, it's becoming personalized. But the question is, if the ad network has already built your digital profile, what does it do next? Imagine you open any site, a video, a news portal, a mobile app, and while the page loads, several active advertisers start competing for the right to show you an ad campaign. One sells cars, another banking services, a third online courses, and a fourth smartphones. And all this happens in literally a fraction of a second. The moment the site loads, an ad auction begins. Many think that whoever offers the most money wins. No, it's actually much more complicated than that. For the ad platform, it's not just about making money, it's about showing an ad that will interest the reader. So the system evaluates several factors at once: how much the advertiser is willing to pay, how well the ad fits this specific user, the likelihood of a click, and the chance the person will actually take action. As a result, the company that paid the most money isn't always the winner. Sometimes a company with a much smaller budget wins simply because its ad is a better fit for that person. That's why two people opening the same site at the same time can see two completely different ads. Not because the site treats them differently, but because their digital profiles are completely different. Working with ads in Telegram, I see this in practice all the time. It seems logical that the more people who see an ad, the better. But in reality, that's not the case at all. You can get tens of thousands of clicks without getting a single target customer. Or you can show an ad to just 100 interested people and get results immediately. That's why modern services don't look for the largest audience, but for the best match between the audience's interests and the product. In fact, modern advertising is a daily effort to reduce the number of non-targeted impressions. The more information there is, the more accurately the algorithm can determine if an ad is a good fit. If you're interested in understanding how the modern digital world really works, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. On this channel, we break down technology from the inside out, showing mechanisms that often go unnoticed. Of course, none of this means that algorithms can read minds. They make mistakes all the time. I think everyone's seen an ad for something they bought a week ago or been offered services they've never been interested in. That's because the algorithm doesn't work with knowledge. It works with probabilities. It sees digital signals and tries to find patterns in them. Sometimes the conclusions are accurate and sometimes they're not at all. There's another very interesting feature of human memory. If an ad suddenly matches a conversation we had, we remember it, but we don't remember the ads where no match occurred. That's also important. That's why it seems like these stories happen all the time. But in reality, they're just one-off coincidences. We just remember unusual events much better. So the question of whether your phone is listening isn't really that interesting. What's far more interesting is how a few hundred digital actions can reveal literally everything about a person's life. Every day, we leave behind a huge number of digital footprints. What we read, what we search for, what videos we watch, what products we compare, what apps we use. And all of this individually gives us practically nothing. But together, these signals form a model that can predict our interests. And that, in my opinion, is the most amazing thing about modern advertising. Not that it sometimes shows a product we just talked about, but that it can understand what will interest us without hearing a single conversation. Wait for the next video. I'm Matvey. See you soon.